I'm going to show how to replace the thermostat in a 2017 Chevy Silverado. I purchased this one at my local auto parts store. This thermostat comes with a pre-assembled housing. There should also be a new O-ring that's included. Begin by releasing the hood and accessing the engine. Then disconnect the battery cable from the negative post. This is recommended because it lowers the risk of electrical components being compromised when working in the engine compartment. Next, locate the thermostat. This is the top view of the engine. The thermostat is located in this general area. It is hidden beneath the corner of the air intake duct. Here is a side view of the thermostat. And here is a view from the top. In order to access the thermostat, the air intake duct will need to be removed. There are 4 components that need to be detached in order to remove this duct. The left and right crankcase ventilation tubes, the airbox hose, and the throttle body hose. Begin by locating the ventilation tube on the right side. Push up on the spring-loaded lock and work the connection off as seen here. Now locate the ventilation tube on the left-hand side. This one will be released by pushing down on the locking mechanism. This one took a little more effort to unplug. Next, locate the throttle body hose. Use a nut driver or a screwdriver to release the hose clamp as seen here. And finally, locate the airbox hose. Release this hose clamp in the same manner. Once the hoses have been detached, lift the air duct out and set aside. The thermostat can now be easily accessed. At this point, it's a good idea to have a container ready for catching spilled coolant. There's usually quite a bit lost during this process and can be quite messy. Next, you will need to detach the 2 hoses. Using a pair of channel lock pliers, expand the clamp in this manner. Then work it up the hose to free it from the thermostat housing. Pull the hose from the housing and drain into the container. The coolant will continue to spill from the housing until it levels off. Next, remove the other hose in the same manner, using pliers to expand and release the clamp. Then pull the hose from the housing and drain the coolant into the container. Now, using a 10mm socket, break loose the 3 bolts that's holding the thermostat in place. Alternate from one bolt to the next until they are all loose. Then, simply remove each one by hand and set aside. The thermostat will be released and can be lifted straight out. Next, remove the old O-ring and wipe the surface using a clean rag. Take the new thermostat and inspect it for flaws. Make sure the O-ring is present and in proper position. Next, set the new thermostat into place in the same orientation as the old one. Return the 3 bolts, hand threading them until seated. Then, tighten the rest of the way, alternating from one bolt to the next until the O-ring is uniformly seated. Be careful not to over-tighten. You do not want to crack the housing or strip the threads. Now, return the hoses to their proper locations. Secure them in the reverse manner that they were removed. Expand and slide the clamp into its original seating location. Then, give a gentle tug on the hose to make sure it's secure. Repeat this process on the other hose. Next, return the air intake duct. First, plug it into the throttle body and then reattach the airbox hose. Make sure the hose and hose clamp are positioned in their original location and resecure as seen here. Once again, do not over-tighten. You do not want to damage the hose or the clamp. Next, reattach the ventilation tubes. Simply plug them back into place on the air ventilation duct. Once both sides have been reconnected, the lost coolant will need to be replenished. Make sure to purchase the proper coolant for your vehicle. This is the Prestone coolant for GM vehicles. This one is not the concentrated coolant that needs water added to it. This is one that's pre-diluted 50-50. Making sure the engine is cool, add the coolant until it reaches the fill line. Use a funnel to keep the spills to a minimum. Recheck the level after running the engine and allowing it to cool. And finally, reconnect the battery, and the truck is now ready to use.